Ada and Emeka met when they were both young and full of dreams. They fell in love quickly, not the loud, dramatic kind of love, but the calm, steady kind. When they got married, everyone said they were perfect together. The first years of their marriage were peaceful. They laughed often, they prayed together every night. They would sit outside in the evenings talking about the future, children, business, a bigger house. Emeka used to look at Ada and say, "You are my peace." And Ada believed him. But slowly, something changed. No one really knew what happened. Maybe it was money problems. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was pressure from friends. Emeka began to come home late. At first, he was just quiet. Then he became irritated. Small things started causing arguments. If the food had too much salt, he shouted. If the house was not perfectly clean, he complained. Ada tried harder. She cooked better meals. She stayed silent during arguments. She apologized even when she didn't know what she did wrong. But it was never enough. The first time he slapped her, he said it was a mistake. The second time, he said she provoked him. After that, the apologies stopped. Ada cried often, but quietly. She didn't want the neighbors to hear. She didn't want her family to worry. She kept telling herself, "This is just a phase." Then one day, she heard the news from someone else. Emeka had been seeing another woman. When she confronted him, he didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "A man needs respect. You don't understand." Ada felt her heart break in a way she had never felt before. Not just because of the other woman, but because the man who once called her my peace now looked at her like she was nothing. Months later, Emeka married the other woman. Just like that. Ada stayed in the house alone. The same house where they once laughed together. For weeks, she could barely sleep. She cried into her pillow at night. She kept asking herself, "What did I do wrong?" But slowly, something inside her began to change. Not anger, strength. She looked at herself in the mirror one morning and realized the bruises had healed, but her spirit was still alive. She decided she would not let her life end because his love ended. Ada started a small business from home. It was hard. There were days she had no customers, days she felt like giving up, but she kept going. Years later, her business grew. People began to respect her. She smiled again, not because the pain disappeared, but because she survived it. One afternoon, Emeka came back. The second marriage had failed. He stood in front of her, looking smaller than she remembered. "I made a mistake," he said quietly. Ada looked at him calmly. For the first time, she didn't feel fear. She didn't feel pain. She simply felt free. "You didn't lose me because of a mistake," she said softly. "You lost me because you didn't value me." And with that, she turned and walked back into her shop. Not crying, not shaking, just steady, because sometimes the greatest victory is not revenge. It is rebuilding your life without the person who tried to break it. A year passed. Ada's shop was more than a business. It was a landmark of her strength, draped in the vibrant colors of her survival. Her life was full. Her success was her own. But while she had rebuilt her world, her heart remained a quiet, locked room. She was happy, but she was alone. That then came David, a school teacher with kind eyes and a gentle spirit. He didn't pursue her with grand gestures or loud promises. He simply saw her. He admired the artist, not just the businesswoman. He brought her food on busy days and listened to her stories without judgment. Ada was afraid. The ghost of old wounds whispered caution in her ear. She had built these walls to keep herself safe. But David's patience was like a gentle rain on dry ground. He wasn't trying to break down her walls. He was just watering the garden on the other side. One afternoon, she saw Emeka from across the street. He looked older, humbled by life. For a moment, she felt the echo of her past. but it was only an echo. Looking at him, she didn't feel anger or pain. She simply felt distant. She had already won her victory. Then she turned and saw David waiting for her, just as he said he would be. In his hands were 2 cups of tea, and in his eyes she saw not a promise of perfection, but the offer of a shared, peaceful journey. She walked towards him, leaving the past behind, because Ada learned that true peace wasn't just surviving the storm. It was learning to dance in the sun that comes after. That's the end of the story. What did you learn from this? Leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.